This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Drama in the Trump hush money trial as the judge clears the courtroom to admonish a defense witness. I'm John Stolnis, and I'll have the latest coming up.
The U.S. is blasting a move to seek arrest warrants for both the leaders of Israel and Hamas. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Houston residents still dealing with power outages and cleanup from last week's deadly storms.
The container ship that caused the deadly collapse of a bridge in Baltimore has been refloated and removed from the crash scene. I'm Jennifer King.
The Dow ticked below 40,000 to start the week, but the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 index, they opened at fresh record highs this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange can appeal against extradition to the U.S. on espionage charges. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The judge in the Trump hush money trial cleared the courtroom in order to scold a defense witness that he believes was acting contemptuous to him in court. John Stolnis has the details.
Both the jury and the press were told to leave so Judge Juan Merchan could scold Trump witness Robert Costello on the stand to rebut testimony from the prosecution's star witness Michael Cohen. Transcripts from the courtroom show Merchan warned Costello his testimony would be stricken from the record if he continued to make snide remarks under his breath and to try and stare down the judge while on the witness stand. Reporters in the room described the scene as chaotic. New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman telling CNN it appears Costello wasn't just bristling about having to cut short his answers due to objections from the prosecution.
He, at one point, Susan Hoffinger, the prosecutor who was doing the cross-examination of him, was asking a question and he spat out, "Speak into the mic." And the jurors, two of them looked at each other when he did that.
Fox News legal analyst Alan Dershowitz says it doesn't seem to him like Costello was acting inappropriately.
Costello was trying to hide his contempt for the court, but the judge had such a thin skin that he threatened him. He said he would strike the testimony and hold him in contempt if he rolled his eyes again. You have a constitutional right to roll your eyes.
Trump was in the courtroom and remarked about the scene afterwards to reporters.
And you saw what happened to a highly respected lawyer today, Bob Costello. Wow. I've never seen anything like that. Highly respected.
Cohen finished his final day of cross-examination yesterday, admitting to stealing tens of thousands of dollars from the Trump organization after a 2016 holiday bonus was slashed by $100,000.
Andy McCarthy stole from the Trump organization, even as they're structuring a deal, blah, 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 and now I can't talk about it because, again, I have a gag order.
Costello testified Trump knew nothing about any hush money payments to Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal. Trump telling reporters the trial has been a huge waste of time.
We have 15 people that I'm supposed to be meeting about who's going to be our vice president, but I'm stuck in the refrigerator all day.
The defense is expected to call Costello to the stand again today. They've also asked the judge to dismiss the case, saying the prosecution has not proven their case and that it rests entirely on the words of Cohen, who they say is a liar. The judge did not immediately rule on that motion, but seemed disinclined to grant it. I'm John Stolnis.
President Biden showed outrage as the U.S. is blasting a move by the world's top criminal court to seek arrest warrants for both Israeli and Hamas leaders for their actions in the Gaza war, a move Israel's also condemning. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas, and it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide.
The U.S. is blasting a move by the chief prosecutor of the world's top war crimes court to seek arrest warrants for both the leaders of Israel and Hamas over actions during the war.
The United States fundamentally rejects the announcement today from the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court that he is applying for arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials together with warrants for Hamas terrorists. There should be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. None.
Among those Karim Khan wants to charge
the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
The outrageous decision by the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan to seek arrest warrants against the democratically elected leaders of Israel is a moral outrage of historic proportions. It will cast an everlasting mark of shame on the international court.
Here in Washington,
as the president said, is outrageous. And there is none, any equivalence between Israel and Hamas.
both State Department spokesman Matthew Miller and White House National Security spokesman John Kirby ripped the move.
There should be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas.
There is none.
A 3-judge panel will decide whether to issue the warrants, but even if they are issued, since Israel is not a member of the court, neither Netanyahu nor his defense minister face any immediate prosecution risk. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The cleanup just beginning in the Houston area, and the death toll there rising after hurricane-force winds tore through the city. We'll hear from disaster teams on the ground when America in the Morning returns. Don't go anywhere. Another spring day will bring sunshine and warm temperatures to some of us, but not all of us. We do have some storms in the forecast, and here to sort it out for us is Matt Rendy.
Another powerful storm will be moving out of the Rockies first thing this morning into northern Kansas and then quickly move northward into southern Minnesota late today and reaching into Canada late tonight. The associated cold front will extend well to the south into northern Texas. To start the day, there'll be rain and thunderstorms through Nebraska into South Dakota, some of which will be heavy, but the strongest of the storms will develop this afternoon into tonight, with a few scattered thunderstorms in North Texas into Oklahoma and becoming more widespread in East Kansas, into Missouri, and particularly in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. These storms will have the potential for very heavy rain, gusty winds, large hail, and even tornadoes. The greatest risk for tornadoes will be in Iowa. Outside of the severe thunderstorms, a few scattered thunderstorms will develop eastward in parts of Michigan, northwest Pennsylvania, New York, and New England, with heavy rain through central and northern Minnesota into northwest Wisconsin. Rain in parts of Minnesota could reach up to 4 inches. This same system will also produce scattered showers to the west through the Rockies from Colorado to Montana, and some higher elevations could even see some snow. Farther west, we have another storm moving onshore in the northwest U.S. This is going to spread rain along the Washington and Oregon coasts, while also providing a cool day for each area. Showers will continue to spread inland through the rest of each state into Idaho by this afternoon, and steadier rain will develop into tonight. That's the weather across America. It'll be a cloudy, cool day in Seattle, Washington, with periods of rain and a high of 55. Greenville, South Carolina will have a warm day with plenty of sunshine and a high of 86. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rendy.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Parts of the Houston area still without power this morning after storms with winds as high as 100 miles per hour tore through the area late last week. Officials in Houston say at least 8 people have now died in the storms that saw windows burst on downtown buildings and trees topple on cars in neighborhoods. Disaster relief crews now flooding the area to help. I spoke with Russ Dilday. He's with the group Texas Baptist Men.
A lot of pine trees in this area. And so what we're doing is we're removing huge pieces of lumber from homes whose roofs have been damaged. I've seen cars that are just caved in because they have a pine tree across them. And our teams are going in, sawing off those logs, sawing them into small pieces.
Not ideal conditions with temperatures in Houston near 90 degrees this week. It's muggy, and hundreds of thousands of people are still without power from downtown to the suburbs. Russ is serving hundreds of meals a day to people who need them.
Definitely middle class. These are nice homes, nice cars that have been affected. And, it's a lesson to all of us, a reminder that tragedy strikes everybody.
Without power comes a slate of challenges, and authorities warning of the dangers of carbon monoxide, with dozens of incidents involving exposure to generators over the last few days. Some roads still covered with debris, and crews still need more time to clear those. The city now opening cooling centers as power crews continue to restore the power. What was nearly 1 million people in the dark a few days ago, now closer to about 100,000. Nearly 2 months after it destroyed the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the cargo ship Dali has been moved to a dock at the Port of Baltimore for repairs. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
The container ship that caused the deadly collapse of a bridge in Baltimore has been refloated and removed from the crash scene. The Dali began backing away and began making way roughly 2.5 miles to a marine terminal with an escort of tugboats. Pieces of steel bridge truss are protruding from the bow. Officials have said they plan to unload the ship's containers and complete some short-term repairs while it's docked in Baltimore. A preliminary report from the National Transportation Safety Board found the ship experienced 4 electrical blackouts in the hours before it left port, lost power, and crashed into one of the piers of the Francis Scott Key Bridge on March 26th. 6 construction workers on the bridge were killed. I'm Jennifer King.
There's a new trend among the ultra-wealthy. So how does that impact all of us? We've got details when America in the Morning returns. Stay with us. The Business Report, sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Tuesday Business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed start to the week for stocks, with the Dow falling back from 40,000. But the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 index opened this morning at fresh all-time highs. JP Morgan shares hit a record high yesterday. And then the CEO said, no stock buybacks at these levels. That sent shares lower, and that dragged the Dow lower. The major averages, though, are on pace for their best month since November. And the record highs for the markets don't mean that that's as far as they're going to go.
Indexes making new record highs are generally a feature of a strong underlying trend, trends which tend to persist. And so it's not necessarily the case when we get to a new big round number, all of a sudden you have to start raising the alarms for an imminent peak.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. Gold settled at a new record high for the 23rd time this year, silver at its highest in more than 11 years. Microsoft announced new AI PCs are coming, starting at about $1,000. Target taking a page out of the McDonald's playbook, cutting prices as Target chases low-price rival Walmart.
It says it is going to lower prices on 5,000 frequently purchased items in its stores in a bid to both stay competitive and give consumers some much-needed relief. In a statement, the retailer says the price cuts are concentrated in grocery staples like milk, meat, fruit, and vegetables, as well as toiletry items like paper towels, baby wipes, and diapers.
CNBC's Tyler Matheson. Trader Ivan Boesky died. He was known for an insider trading scandal.
In the early 1980s, Boesky was an investment banking titan who made hundreds of millions of dollars betting on corporate takeovers, ultimately pleading guilty to insider trading in 1986. He paid a $100 million penalty, a record at the time, also serving 3 years in prison. The former trader was thought to be an inspiration for the character Gordon Gekko in the movie Wall Street. Ivan Boesky was 87.
CNBC's Scott Wapner.
So, Jessica, what's going on with the ultra-wealthy in these art auctions?
You know, it's a shocker in the world of high art, as the ultra-wealthy put very little up for sale, worried they're not going to get the prices they want.
The 2 most expensive paintings stumbling at the auction block, and big losses for many sellers. The most important week of the year for the art market was one they would now rather forget. The spring auctions at Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips totaling $1.4 billion. That sounds okay, but that was 22% below last year, down 55% from 2022. It's the worst auction in over 4 years.
CNBC's Robert Frank. On today's watch list, retail earnings from Lowe's, Macy's, and Urban Outfitters. The NFL starts its spring league meeting in Nashville. Owners are expected to vote on whether to let private equity firms buy stakes in their teams.
From baseball pinstripes to prison, some potential trouble for a former big league pitcher when America in the Morning returns on the other side of this. A former Major League Baseball pitcher could be trading baseball stripes for a prison uniform. Arrested in a massive sex sting in Florida. Correspondent Gethin Kulba has more.
Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters announced a total of 27 arrests Monday as part of a multi-agency operation that ran late last month. An arrest report says the 33-year-old Maddox began communicating with an undercover agent pretending to be an underage girl on April 28th. Officials say he expressed his intent to have sex with the girl even after she told him that she was 14. His attorney says he intends to fight the allegations. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The founder of WikiLeaks will not be heading to the United States after all. Charles de Ledesma reports that Julian Assange won his UK appeal.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange can appeal against extradition to the US on espionage charges, a London court has ruled. After the hearing, and among jubilant fans, Assange's wife Stella said the US was pushing ahead with the case, but now should acknowledge it's time to quit.
The judges reached the right decision. We spent a long time hearing the United States putting lipstick on a pig, but the judges did not buy it. The United States should read the situation and drop this case now.
High Court Judges Victoria Sharp and Jeremy Johnson ruled for Assange after his lawyers argued that the US government provided blatantly inadequate assurances that he would have the same free speech protections as an American citizen if extradited from Britain. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout, and this is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up this half hour. The judge in the Trump hush money case clears the court. We'll tell you why. And the Senate prepares a border bill vote.
Some Trump allies believe former candidate Nikki Haley may be forced to endorse the former president. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Following the death of Iran's president in a helicopter crash, what comes next? I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
Eric Adams is standing by the NYPD after arrests were made during a pro-Palestine protest. I'm Sue Aller.
Microsoft to release new embedded AI PCs. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Kevin Costner gets a standing ovation for his partially self-financed Western film. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. What would a spring day in America be without the chance of thunderstorms? Now, it's not everybody, but the Plain States specifically could get some severe weather today. Here's meteorologist Matt Rendy.
In the northwest, we have a storm moving into the area. This is going to spread rain along the Washington and Oregon coast and also provide a cool day. Showers will continue to spread inland through the rest of each state into Idaho by this afternoon, with steadier rain developing tonight as the system shifts inland. There will also be enough cool air to produce some wet snow in higher elevations. The rest of the west will be largely dry under a good amount of sunshine. In the east, it will also be mostly dry from southern New England through the middle Atlantic into the southeast. There'll be a good amount of sunshine, and afternoon temperatures will be mostly in the 80s with a few 90s, but the coast will remain cooler with some highs holding in the 60s. Meanwhile, we have a strong storm moving out of the Rockies first thing this morning into northern Kansas. This will quickly move northward into southern Minnesota late today and reaching into Canada late tonight. The associated cold front will extend well to the south into northern Texas. Now, to start the day, there'll be some rain and thunderstorms through parts of Nebraska into South Dakota, some of which will be heavy, but the strongest of the storms will develop this afternoon into tonight, with a few scattered thunderstorms in parts of northern Texas into Oklahoma, and then becoming more widespread in eastern Kansas into Missouri, and then even heavier in parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. These storms will have the potential for very heavy rain, gusty winds, large hail, and even tornadoes, and the greatest risk for tornadoes appears it will be in Iowa. Outside of the severe thunderstorms, we'll have a few scattered thunderstorms eastward into parts of Michigan, northwest Pennsylvania, New York, and northern New England, with heavy rain through central and northern Minnesota into northwest Wisconsin. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rendy.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The prosecution is rested in Donald Trump's hush money case, and there were fireworks inside the courtroom when the judge admonished a defense witness for his actions during the proceedings. Correspondent Julie Walker reports Trump's legal team now gets its turn to call witnesses, and questions remain if one of them will be the former president.
You know what it's marked down in the books as? A legal expense. Again, it's not marked down as construction. It's not marked down as sheetrock and cinder block. It's marked down as legal expense. You have a lawyer. You pay him a legal expense, and it's covered in the book as legal expense. I had nothing to do with it. A bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense. This is why I'm here.
Trump's lawyers again trying to get the case dismissed, saying there is no crime. Judge Juan Merchan reserving his decision, leaving court with supporters Trump complaining about the judge.
What we saw, that was an incredible display. I've never seen anything like it in my life. A tyrant. And everyone's talking about it. This is what we have. We have an acting judge, appointed judge by Democrats, by the club. And they're keeping now, I guess this is our fourth week, soon to be our fifth week, not campaigning.
Defense witness Bob Costello, a lawyer Michael Cohen went to when he got in trouble, got into his own trouble. The judge telling him, "You don't give me side eye and you don't roll your eyes," after accusing Costello of not following court decorum. Costello testifying Cohen told him Trump knew nothing about payment to Stormy Daniels, but Cohen testifying he has no doubt Trump signed off on her payments, and they spoke more than 20 times in October 2016. Trump's lawyers got Cohen to admit to stealing from his former boss in an effort to show him as out for revenge.
Hopefully the motion to dismiss this trial will go through, because this trial is a disaster for our country. It's a disaster for New York State, New York City. Greg Jarrett just says, where exactly is the crime? To quote a memorable line from Shakespeare in Love, I don't know. It's a mystery.
At criminal court in Manhattan, I'm Julie Walker.
At one time, there were some who believed that Donald Trump would consider his rival, Nikki Haley, as a vice president. But for now, she's yet to pivot toward accepting a Trump nomination for the White House. As correspondent Jackie Quinn reports, with the Kentucky and Oregon presidential primaries today, political observers are waiting to see if his former UN ambassador and cabinet member winds up endorsing Trump for president.
There's a good chance former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley will pick up votes in the Tuesday Kentucky primary, but not enough to challenge Donald Trump. So will she endorse him? Some Trump allies believe former candidate Nikki Haley may be forced to endorse the former president before November or face permanently alienating the Republican Party base. Haley didn't have much good to say about Trump during her primary bid, which ended in March.
It's not normal for Donald Trump to mock members of the military. It is not normal for Donald Trump to use all these campaign contributions for his personal court cases.
Nikki Haley is perhaps the highest profile Republican who has held back from endorsing Trump. Some of her supporters don't want her to, while the Biden campaign is working to win over her voters who oppose Donald Trump. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The U.S. Senate's expected to revisit a border security bill this week that failed to pass just months ago.
All those who say we need to act on the border will get a chance this week to show they're serious about fixing the problem.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced on the Senate floor that members will vote Thursday on the legislation that came as a broader foreign aid deal earlier this year and was rejected by Republicans. Some said that was because former President Trump had spoken out against the bill. Either way, it's back on the table this week, and Trump still the Republican frontrunner in the race for the presidency.
3 months ago, Senate Republicans blocked the strongest, most comprehensive border security bill we've seen in a generation. This week, Republicans will get another chance to do the right thing.
Now, some are questioning the timing of bringing the bill back to the forefront now, with the border a key issue ahead of November. Republicans say it's Democrats' way of boosting Biden's stance on the border ahead of the election. But the Senate Majority Leader says it's about what's happening on the border.
Border security, we all know, is one of the most contentious issues that we have to wrestle with in Congress. But most people agree the status quo cannot continue. Our southern border is in desperate need of more resources, and our immigration system is in serious need of repair.
The White House has long called for Congress to fix immigration issues and said this week that it supports another vote on the border bill. Republicans, though, certainly not as eager. It's not a slam dunk the bill will get through the Senate, but if it does, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik said in a statement that it would be dead on arrival in the House. Two of Iran's most influential political figures were killed in a helicopter crash this week. As America in the Morning's Jeff McKay reports, the death of the Iranian president will trigger national elections, which could impact Iran's population next month.
Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and the Islamic Republic's foreign minister were among 9 people killed when their helicopter went down Sunday during bad weather and fog in a rugged mountain area near the Azerbaijan border. It took Iran's military and search crews nearly 12 hours to find the wreckage. Iranian state media says the crash was caused by what they are deeming a technical failure. Raisi was called by some the butcher of Tehran for repressing human rights, especially for women, and was at one time considered a successor to Iran's supreme leader, the 85-year-old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller in a statement said some of Iran's worst human rights abuses happened under Raisi's watch. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby.
We don't anticipate any change in Iranian behavior, and therefore the Iranians should not expect any change in American behavior when it comes to holding them accountable.
By law, the first vice president, Mohammad Mokhber, becomes the interim president after being granted approval by the Ayatollah. Iran must now, by law, hold elections within the next 50 days on or about June 28th. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
The EPA urging water utility companies to boost protections of the nation's water supply. What's leading to that warning? We'll tell you when America in the Morning returns after these messages. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is defending the police response to a pro-Palestinian demonstration in Brooklyn and disagreed with assertions that officers were overly aggressive as they arrested protesters. Correspondent Sue Aller reports.
About 40 pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested on Saturday in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is home to one of the largest Palestinian communities in New York City. This is what some of those arrests sounded like. Bystanders shot video that appeared on X showing police officers shoving protesters to the ground. One officer is seen punching an individual that was already laying on the street. New York Civil Liberties Union Executive Director Donald Lieberman spoke to News Channel 4.
The notorious Strategic Response Group. That's a part of the NYPD. There's no situation when a person who is arrested should be beaten up when they're on the ground.
The New York City Police Department also released a video showing protesters misbehaving, blocking traffic, and throwing things at officers. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is standing by the NYPD. He spoke to 1010 Wins Radio and said, quote, "Those police officers did a commendable job under very difficult circumstances." The NYPD also says about 90% of the demonstrators arrested were not from the Bay Ridge community. I'm Sue Aller.
Growing cyber threats is forcing the Environmental Protection Agency to urge water utilities to immediately boost their protection of the nation's water supply. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
The EPA says cyber attacks against water utilities are both more frequent and more severe. The agency says about 70% of utilities inspected by federal officials violated standards meant to prevent cyber threats, including basic things like not changing default passwords. The EPA says some recent attacks have come with government backing, naming China, Russia, and Iran as nations looking to disable critical infrastructure. The alert is aimed at both emphasizing the seriousness of cyber threats and warning utilities of all sizes that the EPA will keep inspecting and penalizing them if it finds serious problems. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
One large big box retailer announced it's planning to target its biggest rival. Rita Foley reports.
Target plans to cut prices on thousands of items this summer: food, drink, household goods. This as inflation cuts into household budgets and more Americans pay closer attention to their spending. Target says you'll see lower prices on food items like milk, bread, fruits, and vegetables, and on goods like pet food and diapers. In March, Target reported its first annual drop in sales in 7 years, 1.7%. Last week, McDonald's said it's planning to roll out a $5 meal deal next month to counter slowing sales and customers' frustration with high prices. Walmart enjoyed strong quarterly sales last week, driven by customers looking for bargains. I'm Rita Foley.
It's been a while since Microsoft has offered a PC with anything too special. Now everyone's getting excited about a new line with embedded AI right inside your next computer. Here's Chuck Palm with today's tech news.
Microsoft announces a new classification for personal computers with AI features in order to be more competitive with Google's Alphabet and Apple. Microsoft's dubbing the new line Copilot Plus PCs, claiming that it will be able to handle more artificial intelligence tasks without calling on cloud data centers. The new computers are expected to cost about $1,000 and begin shipping in the middle of June. Chief Marketing Officer Youssef Mehdi expects that more than 50 million AI PCs will be purchased over the next year. At a press conference, he said faster AI assistants that run directly on a PC will be the most compelling reason to upgrade your PC in a long time. Microsoft's Ben Bajarin also said people just need to be convinced that the device experience alone justifies an entirely new category of Copilot Plus machines. One thing you can look forward to is the new recall feature that will remember and be able to find anything displayed on your screen, including emails, websites, and applications. Leave us a message at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
It's time for sports, brought to you by Untuck It. Spring is here, so go to untuckit.com or any one of their 80-plus stores and find the perfect fit for your spring wardrobe. Here's Robert Workman.
Stanley Cup playoffs, second round, Game 7 in Vancouver. The Oilers held off the Canucks 3-2 to advance to the West Final for the second time in 3 years. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with a goal and an assist as Edmonton did all its scoring in the second period. Vancouver was without its leading goal scorer, Brock Besser, out with a blood-clotting issue. The West Final begins Thursday night in Dallas as the Stars host the Oilers. East Final starts tomorrow night in New York. The Rangers taking on the Panthers in Game 1. NBA Conference Finals begin tonight in the East. The Celtics hosting the Pacers. Tomorrow it's the West Final in Minneapolis, Game 1 between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Baseball, the Red Sox shut out the Rays 5-0. Tanner Houck and Justin Slayton teamed up on a 3-hitter. Rafael Devers homered for the 6th game in a row. That's a new franchise record. Padres and Braves split a pair. San Diego rallied to win the early game 6-5. Atlanta nabbed the nightcap 3-0. Chris Sale in the receipts with a 7-hitter. He's now 7-1 on the year. Angels hit 3 homers and a 7-run 5th to drag down the Astros. Nolan Shanuel and Logan O'Hoppe launched 3-run blasts. Joe Adell backed up the ladder with a solo shot. Dodgers drilled the Diamondbacks, all of their runs coming in the 3rd inning, highlighted by Freddie Freeman's grand slam. Royals got 6 in the 6th to turn back the Tigers. Mariners scored 4 in the 9th to sink the Yankees. Nationals trampled the Twins. It's Minnesota's 7th loss in a row. Manager Rocco Baldelli.
I've seen a lot of streaky baseball, and we all have. This is next level stuff. We're taking this to the next level. Sometimes it can be a good thing, and right now it's not a very good thing.
Marlins edged the Brewers in 10. Cardinals clubbed the Orioles. Blue Jays buried the White Sox, and the Guardians got by the Mets. That's Tuesday Sports.
A resolution to ban weapons in space. What did the UN say to that? We'll tell you when America in the Morning returns. Hang with us. Donald Trump is vowing legal action against a new movie that portrays the former president raping his first wife. It proved to be the most disturbing aspect of a movie called The Apprentice at the Cannes Film Festival. Variety's reporting that in that film, a scene shows the actor playing Trump during an argument, violently throwing his then-wife Ivana onto the floor and proceeding to have non-consensual sex with her. The film portrays Trump in the beginnings of growing his real estate empire in the 1970s and growing into other businesses in the 80s. The movie also shows the former president getting liposuction, taking amphetamine pills, and having surgery to remove a bald spot. The Trump origin story does open with a disclaimer saying that it's based on true events, but some of the characters' names were changed. The film's attempting to be sold, but hasn't found a distributor yet. The United Nations Security Council's rejecting a Russia-backed resolution on banning weapons in space. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
The rejection comes as the U.S. says Russia launched a satellite last week that could be weaponized. The U.S. and its allies said the resolution's language that the 15-member council debated was simply meant to distract the world from Russia's true intention, weaponizing space. Russia's UN ambassador denied that his nation was trying to mislead the world. The resolution failed on an even split between backers of the U.S. and of Russia, with Switzerland abstaining. I'm Norman Hall.
Kevin Costner remains busy showing his movie at Cannes while his production of Yellowstone continues without him. Kevin Carr reports.
Kevin Costner made a splash at the Cannes Film Festival while his television series Yellowstone goes back into production.
That looks like a promising place. The place I might be able to see myself.
The 69-year-old actor brought his first installment of Horizon, an American saga, to the festival. The Western holds a low 29% Rotten Tomatoes score, but it received a 7-minute standing ovation from the audience. Costner, who attended the red carpet with 5 of his children, was in tears during that reception.
There's no place like here. I'll never forget this. Neither will my children.
Horizon is a 4-part Western epic with 2 of the installments opening this summer. Costner has a personal stake in the film, and he explained the struggles of financing it.
Part of why I wanted to make 1, 2, and 3, and 4 was to make it for myself. And now I'm trying to make the 3rd one, and I've knocked on every boat in Cannes to help me.
In a GQ interview this week, Costner revealed he fronted $38 million of his own money to make the movie. This news comes amid Costner's controversial exit from the series Yellowstone. The actor-producer told GQ that he was never sent any scripts for the last half of the season, which leaves the decision of the fate of John Dutton in the hands of series creator Taylor Sheridan. Yellowstone Season 5 Part 2 is set to air in November. Horizon, an American Saga, opens in theaters on June 28th. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. And this is Westwood One.